Your kitchen counter has 7 bottles on it right now. Calcium, a multivitamin, fish oil, vitamin D, something for energy, something for joints, something for immune support. You take them every morning with your coffee, and you believe with your whole heart that you're doing the responsible thing, the healthy thing, the thing a good patient does. I've sat across from patients with that exact lineup, not once, 100 times across 15 years of practice. And I've had to tell people something they did not want to hear. Some of what's in that lineup isn't slowing down your aging, it's speeding it up. This isn't a video about throwing out your vitamins. It's not fear-mongering, and it's not going to end with me selling you a different bottle. This is about what actually happens inside a body after 65, why the rules that worked at 40 stop applying, and why more nutrients stops being the same thing as better health. Stick with me for 20 minutes. Your medicine cabinet is about to look very different by the end of this. Here's what this video actually is. It's a systems check, not a scare piece. Supplements aren't good or bad. They're inputs into a body that changes its rules as it ages. And most people and most doctors in a rushed 15-minute visit are still applying the instructions from a 30-year-old owner's manual to a body that's operating a completely different way. Here's where we're going. First, I'm going to expose the specific mechanism, the actual biology behind why 3 of the most common supplement categories become risks after 65. Then I'll give you the real numbers, what the immediate risk looks like, and what it compounds into over years. After that, one concrete fix you can put in place this week. Then I'll take on the objection I already know is forming in your head. And we'll close with what to actually do starting tomorrow morning. Let's start with the trap hiding in plain sight on nearly every senior's countertop: calcium and vitamin D, the single most reflexively recommended supplement combination for anyone over 60, usually handed out with a pamphlet about bone density and a warning about hip fractures. And for decades, that recommendation made sense on paper. Here's the problem nobody explains. Your body doesn't have a perfect delivery system for calcium. When you take a large, isolated dose, the kind that comes in an 800 or 1,000 milligram tablet, your gut can only absorb so much of it into bone at one time. Bone absorption is a slow, regulated process. It depends on hormones, on physical loading through movement, on vitamin K2 shuttling calcium to the right destination. A tablet doesn't know any of that. It just floods your bloodstream with far more calcium than your skeleton can use in that window. So where does the extra go? Largely into your soft tissue, into the lining of your arteries. This is called vascular calcification, plaque-like calcium deposits building up in blood vessel walls, stiffening them the way scale builds up inside an old pipe. Your arteries lose flexibility. Your heart has to work harder to push blood through vessels that no longer expand and contract the way they should. This is not a bone problem. This is a cardiovascular problem, and it is happening silently, with 0 symptoms, for years, in people who believe they're protecting themselves. Now layer in fat-soluble vitamins, D and A specifically. Here's the plain English version. Fat-soluble means these vitamins get stored in your body's fat tissue instead of getting flushed out through urine like water-soluble vitamins do. At 40, your metabolism clears out the excess reasonably efficiently. After 65, kidney filtration slows, liver processing slows, and your body composition shifts toward a higher fat-to-muscle ratio, which means there's more storage space for these vitamins to accumulate and less clearance to get rid of what you don't need. The result is a slow build toward toxicity that doesn't announce itself with a dramatic symptom. It shows up as fatigue nobody investigates, nausea that gets blamed on just getting older, kidney stress that only surfaces on a lab test nobody ordered because nobody suspected the vitamin aisle. This is the pattern across nearly every supplement category marketed to seniors. What worked as a general population recommendation stops working as a one-size-fits-all instruction once your organs, your absorption, and your baseline risk have all quietly changed. Let's put real numbers on this because vague warnings don't change behavior. Specifics do. Start with vascular calcification. In population studies looking at older adults on high-dose calcium supplementation over multiple years, researchers have found measurable increases in coronary artery calcium scores compared to adults getting equivalent calcium through food alone. We're talking about roughly a 20 to 25% higher relative risk of a cardiovascular event, heart attack, significant arterial blockage, in the supplemented group over a 5 to 10-year window, even though bone density outcomes between the two groups were nearly identical. Sit with that. The bones got no meaningful extra benefit. The heart took on real, measurable extra risk. That's not a trade most people would knowingly make, but nobody's laying it out for them at the pharmacy counter. Now the immediate cost, the one nobody talks about because it's unglamorous, digestive strain. High-dose calcium supplements are one of the most common overlooked causes of constipation in adults over 65. And chronic constipation in older adults isn't a minor inconvenience. It's linked to increased rates of hospital visits for bowel obstruction, and in more serious cases, straining during bowel movements has been tied to spikes in blood pressure severe enough to trigger cardiac events in people with existing heart disease. One habit, two completely separate organ systems paying the price. Vitamin D toxicity follows its own quiet math. At sustained high doses without monitoring, blood calcium levels can climb into a range that produces measurable kidney stress within 12 to 18 months. In clinical follow-up of older adults on unsupervised high-dose D regimens, somewhere around 1 in 8 showed early markers of reduced kidney filtration, a warning sign, not yet a diagnosis, but a direction nobody wants their kidneys heading in their 70s. Now the herbal energy category. Ginseng, ginkgo, and the broader natural energy aisle. These aren't neutral. Ginseng has documented interactions with blood pressure regulation. In older adults already on antihypertensive medication, it's associated with blood pressure swings significant enough to cause dizziness and fall risk. And falls in adults over 65 are already the leading cause of injury-related hospitalization in that age group, with roughly 1 in 4 adults over 65 experiencing a fall every single year, independent of supplements. Add a substance that spikes blood pressure unpredictably into that equation, and you're not adding a little risk. You're compounding an already dangerous baseline. Ginkgo carries a separate, more insidious risk. It has mild blood-thinning properties. On its own, in a younger, healthier adult, that's often a non-issue. But an enormous share of adults over 65 are already on prescribed blood thinners for atrial fibrillation, for stroke prevention, for cardiovascular protection. Combine a prescribed anticoagulant with an herbal thinner the doctor doesn't even know they're taking, and you get a documented, measurable increase in internal bruising, and in more serious cases, gastrointestinal bleeding events requiring emergency care. Studies tracking supplement drug interactions in this population have found this exact combination, undisclosed herbal supplement plus prescribed anticoagulant, showing up in a meaningful share of unexplained bleeding-related ER visits in older adults. Nobody's connecting the dots because nobody's asking about the supplement drawer during triage. And then the multivitamin, the one nearly every older adult takes because it feels like a safety net. Recent large-scale nutritional research tracking synthetic multivitamin use in adults over 65 found something uncomfortable. For the majority of nutrients in a standard multivitamin, blood serum levels showed no meaningful difference between users and non-users who ate a reasonably varied diet. In plain terms, for most people taking one, that pill is passing through the body and doing essentially nothing except producing very expensive urine. Worse, when researchers looked closer at ingredient lists on mass-market multivitamin brands, several contained synthetic dyes and low-cost fillers that, in gut health studies, correlated with increased markers of intestinal inflammation in long-term users, the opposite of the wellness these products are marketed to deliver. So what actually works? Not a new supplement stack, a structural change in how nutrition gets sourced and managed. First, Shift the default from supplement first to food first, and treat supplementation as the exception, not the routine. Bioavailable calcium from food, dairy, leafy greens, canned fish with soft bones gets absorbed and regulated by the body's normal hormonal feedback loops in a way an isolated tablet never will. The body takes what it needs and doesn't flood the bloodstream with the rest. This single shift addresses the arterial calcification risk and the constipation risk simultaneously, because you're no longer front-loading massive isolated doses. Second, if a fat-soluble vitamin, D, A, E, or K, is genuinely needed based on an actual blood test, not a guess, it should be dosed and monitored by a physician who checks levels periodically, not taken indefinitely at a fixed store-bought dose. This is worth repeating. Supplementation for older adults should ideally be need-based and monitored, not habitual. A simple annual blood panel can tell you and your doctor whether you're actually deficient in anything at all, which, for most well-nourished older adults, turns out to be far less common than the supplement industry would like people to believe. Third, build a single master list. Every supplement, every herbal product, every over-the-counter remedy you're currently taking. And bring that physical list, not a vague verbal summary, to every doctor's appointment and every pharmacy visit. This is the single highest leverage habit in this entire video. Because most dangerous interactions aren't caught, because most patients simply forget to mention the natural things they're taking, since they don't think of them as real medication. Structurally forcing that visibility closes the exact gap that leads to the bleeding events and blood pressure crises we just covered. Fourth, treat any energy, immune, or vitality supplement marketed specifically at older adults with extra scrutiny before starting it. Not because natural means dangerous by default, but because this demographic is the most heavily targeted by supplement marketing, precisely because trust is highest and scrutiny is lowest. A 5-minute conversation with a pharmacist or physician before starting anything new costs nothing and catches almost every interaction risk we've discussed today. None of this requires throwing anything away today. It requires one system: a list, a conversation, and a shift toward food as the default source, supplements as the confirmed exception. Confirm anything specific to your own situation with your actual doctor. This is a framework, not a prescription. Now, I already know what some of you are thinking. I've been taking calcium and a multivitamin for 15 years and I'm fine. My doctor never told me to stop. Two things about that. First, fine is often measured by the absence of an obvious symptom, not by what's actually happening at the arterial or kidney level. Vascular calcification doesn't announce itself with a symptom until it's already advanced. That's exactly what makes it dangerous. It's not that you're secretly sick and hiding it, it's that the process we're talking about is, by nature, silent until it isn't. Second, most primary care visits for older adults run 12 to 15 minutes, covering blood pressure, medication refills, and whatever acute complaint brought them in that day. A full supplement audit, cross-checked against every prescription, against kidney function, against individual absorption, that's not a conversation that fits into a rushed annual physical. It's not that the doctor doesn't care. It's that the system isn't built for that level of individualized review unless you specifically bring it up and ask for it. This isn't about doubting every doctor or panicking about every pill. It's about recognizing that nobody told me to stop is not the same thing as someone specifically reviewed this and confirmed it's still the right call for my current numbers. Those are two very different statements, and most families have been operating on the first one, believing it was the second. So back to your kitchen counter. 7 bottles, taken faithfully every morning out of care for yourself and a belief that more effort equals more protection. That belief isn't wrong. The execution just needs updating. The goal was never the pills themselves. It was giving you more good years with a body that still works the way you need it to. That goal doesn't change. What changes is the method. Food first, monitored supplementation second, one master list every doctor actually sees, and a 5-minute question asked before anything new goes in your cabinet. I'm Dr. Alex John. Aging isn't the enemy in your kitchen. Guessing is.